Hey guys, why don't you close your eyes and imagine you ask your students to work on a QT discussion, a quality talk discussion, but all you hear and all you see is silence, dead silence. Or all of them are speaking Chinese. They're asking each other, "What are we going to do? I don't understand what we're doing. What? I have no idea what we're doing right now." Don't worry, I know we've all been there. I've been there, you've been there, we've all experienced this kind of awkward situation. So today I would like to share with you some tips on how we can solve this problem. Specifically, we will answer how. Do I make my students talk during QT? So this presentation is brought to you by National Taiwan Normal University, Common Core Education Committee, Foreign Language Education Division. And I am Jojo Tang, your presenter for today. So without further ado, let's go to step one. Step one is T, chair, sky, a folded map, and ing. What does that mean? I will give you some time, around 10 seconds, to guess what the answer is. Again, T, chair, sky, folded map, ing. T, chair, sky, fold, ing. 5 seconds left. You have 4 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Time's up. So if you haven't gotten it yet, the answer is T, chair, sky, folding, or teacher's scaffolding. Now, we all know that teacher scaffolding is very important. We need to provide support. We need to lead students before they can find the answers for themselves. So, specifically for QT, what kind of teacher scaffolding do we need to provide? When it comes to QT instruction, you need to provide students with lots and lots of examples. And there are two specific points I would like to point out. The first one is to provide sample sentences. The second one is to provide sample dialogues. Let's talk about them in further detail. So let's start with providing sample sentences. So here you will see that we are using shared knowledge questions as a topic of QT discussion for the day. Obviously, you will have to tell them what shared knowledge questions are and what they are used for. After that, provide them with an example. You will notice that in this specific example, there are two types of shared knowledge questions. One beginning with how is and another one beginning with how does. As part of the scaffolding, let the students know how these two sentences are different. How is, how does. After that, give them a fill in the blanks as practice so that they can familiarize themselves with how these two sentences are different. For example, when we use the word connect, they use how does. If it is connected, then they use how is. Now comes an even more difficult task. They will have to write their own shared knowledge questions using the aforementioned sentences or sentence headings. And then finally, have the students memorize the sentences they've written so that they become even more familiar with the sentence structure. Now, it's time to discuss providing sample dialogues. So after giving them an example, asking them to fill in the blanks, ask them to write their own sentences and memorize the sentence, now it's time for the sample dialogue. So in this sample dialogue, you will see that the students are given a conversation and then they will have to write a shared knowledge question based on the context. So basically, students have to do the same thing. The only difference is in terms of discourse, This time it is beyond the sentential level. So now let's go to step 2. Step 2 begins with a pot of stew, a tooth representing something that's related to the dentist, sky, fold, ing. Again, you have 10 seconds to think about the answer. Come up with the answer, 10 seconds. 9, 8, again, stew, and then something to do with the dentist, and then sky, and then fold, ing. What could the answer be? 3, 2, 1. Alright, if you still haven't figured it out, it is stew, dent, scaffolding, or students scaffolding. Okay, so we can also provide student scaffolding. Students can also provide scaffolding to each other, or what we call peer scaffolding, right? So how does this happen? Well, there are 3 ways. Let's find out what they are. So the first way is going to be represented by a brain icon. This refers to when students rely on the smarter students or the more proficient students or the more advanced students. So when you do group work, make sure that the weaker students are paired up with the more proficient students so that the weaker students can learn something from them. Now you might ask, but if they work together, the weaker students will just sit there and do nothing, and then the smarter students will do all the work. Well, to solve that problem, you can ask them to work as a team and make sure that teamwork is part of their score. If they don't do well as a group, if they don't work well as a team, as a group, then they will get the low score for that part. What usually happens when teamwork is part of the score is that the more grade-conscious students will remind the less grade-conscious students to work. And then the less grade-conscious students, they will be embarrassed. Here are 2 short clips of students discussing during a QT discussion task.
So I will not buy this. How do you feel? You can say, or
shuffle perfect. And she's holding it perfect.
oh, hold it. Okay.
Don't hurt me.
Yes, and holding so then sauce.
The second way by which students can provide scaffolding is theater. What does theater mean? Well, theater actually means having some students perform what they have done in class in front of everyone. Just choose one group at random and tell the class that their score, the ones performing in front, their score will be the score for everyone. So that makes sure that everybody will focus on the task instead of just dilly-dallying. Usually, the group that gets chosen will be revealed 5 minutes before the end of class. So the students will not know which group will have to present until the end or 5 minutes before the end of class. By revealing who is going to present towards the end of class, you achieve 2 things. 1, you make it exciting for the students. Students usually anticipate to find out who is going to be chosen. Second, you ensure that all the students are on task and participating in the group discussion all the way till the end or 5 minutes before the end of class. Watch this short clip of the students preparing for the presentation. You will notice that all of the students are working on the task because at that point, none of the students knew who was going to present. And the third way by which students can provide scaffolding to each other is through film. What does film mean? Well, it's a simple task of recording some of the better performances that the students have done and showing these performances, showing the videos of these performances to future students so that the students will be motivated. If they see other students do something that is really fantastic, then they will know that they have the ability to do the same thing. Now let's go to step 3. Step 3, there's IVE, there's LTER, there's -T, there's a heart, and there is 2 feet. So heart means affect, right? So affect, IVE, feet -T plus LTR. So you have 7 seconds to guess what this phrase means. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Time's up. So you will see that this sentence means affective feet -T plus LER. It means effective filter. So it's really important to make sure that the students have a positive experience. Instead of feeling nervous or anxious about doing this QT discussion, they need to feel encouraged. They need to have fun. So how do we do this? Let's find out. Alright, so there are 2 ways. The first way is to let them speak Chinese. I know it sounds counterintuitive. However, letting them speak Chinese doesn't mean they can speak Chinese the entire time of the discussion. It is advisable to start the discussion in English, and then during discussion time, you can say, you can speak Chinese for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. This lets the student feel a little bit more relaxed before they have to speak English again. To sum up, when you ask them to do QT discussion, you let them speak English first, give them 5 minutes or so to speak Chinese, and then continue in English. The second way by which you can lower the affective filter is to choose a fun topic. For example, if the topic from the textbook is flowers from the Netherlands and Ecuador, then you don't have to really talk about flowers. You can talk about Valentine's Day. You can ask them to debate or talk about what would be the most ideal Valentine's Day gift. You can also ask the students to create different topics. For example, I did 2 truths and a lie with some of my students. Here is a video of what some of them did.
Why am I named Eugene? There's going to be 3 stories and only one is true. The first story. My mom is a big fan of England. The day I was born, my mom hoped that I can be noble in the UK. As we all know, having a noble last name can make that person sound aristocratic. Therefore, my mom found a last name, Eugene. That's why I was named. Okay, the second story. My Chinese name is Youzhen. When you read my name faster and faster, Youzhen, 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 Eugene, you can find yourself reading a word Eugene. It really sounded like. This is the main reason why my mom named me Eugene. Okay, the third story, the last story. There's a movie called Tangled in America. It's a famous animated movie talking about a missing princess and a thief called Eugene. The thief in the end turned into a good guy full of justice. He protected the crown and kept the princess from danger. My mom loves that story. That's why I was named Eugene.
开始。
Why Apple called Apple? First story. Apple's founder Steve Jobs, Stephen Walnuts, and Ronaldo Wayne really like Newton. They are Newton's huge fans, so they thought about Newton and Apple's story. And the color of the apple is very bright and easy to see clearly. Then they used Apple to name their company. Okay, second story. One day, Stephen Jobs went to the supermarket. He saw the apple was really big and beautiful. He also likes to eat apples, so he thought it was great for the company logo. Then he told his partners to name Apple for this company, and they agreed. Last story. Jobs is just finished his odd job prying apple trees. He was inspired by the experience of trimming the leaves a few hours earlier. Jobs later recalled, "At that time, I almost used fruit as my step food, and I just came back from the apple orchard. I thought that the name was very angry. It eliminated the technological impression of computer, and it was very friendly. In addition, Apple will make the company's phone book list." The end.
Why is the Apple company called Apple? Jobs persuaded his friend Wozniak to set up a company for his computer design. First story, because Jobs went on a diet. At that time, his favorite fruit was apples, and he liked the color red very much. So when Wozniak had no idea for his company's name and asked Jobs, "What do you think about our company's name?" Jobs just suggested him, "How about Apple?" The second story. One day, Jobs was doing his work, that was pruning apple trees. Suddenly, an apple hit his head. Jobs said, "Ouch! What's happened? Is there anyone hit me? No way!" So when Wozniak drove him back and asked him for the company's name, Jobs just asked him, "How about Apple?" The third story, because there are phone books. It is according to the letter A to the letter Z, and the name Apple begins with the letter A, so it can be the front in the phone books. And the name Apple sounds pretty good and friendly. It is also easy to remember, right?
Now let's go to step 4. Step 4, here's a picture clue. One man with horns and a straight building. A building that goes straight into the sky. So you have a demon and a straight building. So what does this picture, or what do these pictures mean? You have 3 seconds. 2, 1. Make a guess. Alright, so the answer is demon plus straight equals demonstrate. You need to demonstrate. So, what does it mean to demonstrate? Well, there are a couple of ways by which you can demonstrate QT to the students. What are those ways? Let's find out. The first way to demonstrate QT to your students is to show them YouTube videos. In addition to that, you can also show them TED Talk videos. And finally, as mentioned before, you can show them the videos of those students from previous batches who have done a very good job doing QT. The benefit of showing these videos is, well, actually an added benefit is these videos can serve as listening practice for the students. We all know that the students have to take the listening and the reading TOEIC, and so if you show these videos to them, they are given more opportunities to practice their listening skills. Another added benefit is students can get ideas from these videos. For example, when I ask my students to discuss when it is okay to speak up and when it is okay to shut up, I showed them this video.
Seem powerful in your own eyes. The second, you seem powerful in the eyes of others. When I feel powerful, I feel confident, not fearful. I expand my own range. When other people see me as powerful, they grant me a wider range. So we need tools to expand our range of acceptable behavior. And I'm going to give you a set of tools today. Now, speaking up is risky, but these tools will lower your risk of speaking up. So the first tool I'm going to give you got discovered in negotiations, and an important finding. On average, Women make less ambitious offers and get worse outcomes than men at the bargaining table. But Hannah Raleigh Bowles and Emily Monotula have discovered there's one situation where women get the same outcomes as men and are just as ambitious. That's when they advocate for others.
In addition to learning how to speak up by advocating for others, the speaker from the TED video taught the students other tools by which they can increase their power when they speak up. So now here's step 5. Step 5 involves minus d, minus x, minus p, land, age, a fox, and 2 cups. You have 10 seconds to guess this phrase. Land minus d, age, fox minus x, and then cups minus p. What is this phrase? You have 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1, time's up. Alright, so it's land minus d plus age plus fox, cups minus p. It is language focus. Now we have reached the last point of today's presentation, and that is language focus. So what does language focus mean? How does language focus help students talk during quality talk? Let's find out. So there are 2 ways. 1, by providing alternative phrases, and 2, by focusing on specific grammar points. Let's start with providing alternative phrases or sentences. So let's assume that you have already explained to the students what an analysis question is and what. This time, let's use analysis questions as an example. An analysis question is 4. You've also given them an example. You have also asked them to write their own sentences. And you have asked them to memorize those sentences. Now you ask them to give you alternative ways by which they can express the same thing using different sentences. For example, the analysis question here is, why do you say so? Now you give alternative sentences. For example, why do you say so? Give me 3 reasons. Why do you say so? Enumerate 3 reasons. Why do you say so? What is your opinion on this issue? After giving them alternative sentences, you ask the students to give you what they think are other alternative sentences to express the same thing, to express why do you say so. The point here is to give them a repertoire of sentences and phrases to express the same thing. Now, don't forget to give them alternative sentences for how to respond as well. For example, why do you say so? Give me 3 reasons. So 3 reasons, so they have to say first and foremost, in addition, and last but not the least. Now let's talk about language focus. So let's take affective questions this time as an example. Let's assume that you have told them the purpose of affective questions. You have given them an example, and here's the key. Because affective questions involve second conditional questions, therefore, you have to ask them to encircle the correct answer so that they become more familiar with second conditionals. Before they can use affective questions in a spontaneous conversation, they need to become really familiar with second conditional sentences. So you need to drill the grammar point in. And this is where grammar instruction becomes extremely useful. You need to teach the specific grammar points of second conditional sentences. So you give them examples, you ask them to encircle the correct answer. If you are or were Snow White, will or would you eat the apple? After that, that is when they are ready to write their own sentences. And then finally, like before, they have to memorize the sentence. And there you have it. 5 different ways by which you can encourage students to talk more during QT discussion. Again, the 5 points are teacher scaffolding, student scaffolding. Number 3 is lowering affective filter. Number 4 is demonstrate through videos. And finally, number 5 is language focus. Give them alternative sentences and phrases, and don't forget to drill in the grammar before they can use these questions and sentences spontaneously in a QT discussion. I hope you have learned something from my presentation today. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. My email is down there. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.